Eh.
Ooh.
Eh.
Ooh. Partly because I think that we would have not expected to make the signings we did. There was a lot of concern kind of as the window was kind of pushing on that Palace wouldn't make any moves. The fact we signed Kouyaté for 10 million is a bit surprising on the basis that Roy Hodgson seemed to think that there wasn't much to spend. 10 million isn't a great deal of money in the grand scheme of things now, but there's a lot to be excited about in that regard. I think he's a really decent player, very much a box-to-box midfielder that can kind of replace Cabaye. Max Meyer is a very exciting player to sign. He obviously fell out with the management at Schalke after they offered him a contract and he wasn't impressed with that offer. He tried to chance his arm and decided to see if any foreign clubs would be interested, and as a result he's ended up at Palace, which is a good thing for us because it's the kind of place that young players should want to come to in order to develop. In terms of Wilf, he could well leave in January, it could be next season. I mean, it all depends on how well we do this year. And Wilf is an ambitious person, so I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the future he does leave. A whole season would be ideal, really, if we could keep him for that long. On the whole, it's a decent transfer window.
I think Andros Townsend, the guy he is quintessential Palace. He works super hard. He always gives 110%. He's a winger. Now, we've always classically done well with wingers. He's really effective, gets assists. His players a smile on his face. Everything about him I really like. He's really thrived at Palace in the signing as well, apart from that first few months under Pardew. So yeah, I think Andros is, I was about to say as important as Wilf, but he's certainly very important.
I think James McArthur. I think McArthur's going to play a key role this season. Yeah, I'm going with Jimmy Mack.
I think it will be James Tompkins. Massively underrated outside of the club. His presence, the defensive resilience, and his eye for the important goals from the centre-back position are going to make him vital for us this season. As long as him and Sacco remain fit, the hope is that their unbeaten run as centre-back pairing can continue way into the season.
Luka Milivojevic is probably the one, other than Wilf, to really be focusing on. With Kouyaté coming in, it might take some of that kind of defensive focus a little bit away from him, which is probably a good thing because whenever he seemed to get into advanced positions, he seemed to enjoy that. He scored a really good goal at Southampton away, for example, and he's the kind of player that I wouldn't be too unhappy to see in a slightly more advanced role.
Benteke, his position in the club, it will remain a hot topic for most of the season, with many hoping that we would cash in on him in the summer. But partnering Wilf up front as a strike duo, it may actually be a benefit to Benteke, who was still heavily involved in many of the goals last year, albeit very few actually coming from him. I think he's going to need a couple of early goals in the season and that'll do him good, but his fitness remains an issue, and I don't think he's the same player that we saw at Aston Villa when he was banging in 30 a season from free kicks, overhead kicks, with his head, both feet. And if last season's woes continue, then I think a January transfer window move will be on the cards for him. Me personally, hoping that he rediscovers some of his form, bangs in some key goals, and gives the ever supportive and loyal Palace faithful something very nice to tweet about.
Well, I hope he's on fire with Wilf, but I don't know, it's a tough one. Average, I don't know, 10 goals. Yeah, just an average season. Nothing spectacular. Not as bad as last season, no way.
There's no way Benteke can be as bad as last season. It's just not possible. Like law of averages. So hopefully he'll have a decent season. Even an average season for Benteke would be good. You know, 12 goals, 15 goals. He's looked good in pre-season, I think, particularly against Toulouse, where he looked brilliant, scored a towering header, the sort of header we want to see more of this season. I think, just because of the way football is, and because of law of averages, he can't have another bad season. So I'm going to go for 12, 13, 14 goals.
I think that we should expect at least 10 goals from him, as a minimum. This is a player who did go through a really rough patch. I think in fairness to the guy, he missed quite a few chances, but a lot of them were actually were quite unlucky, really. I mean, these are opportunities that typically you would expect a player of his calibre to score. He seems to have worked a lot on his fitness, on his kind of form, and in that pre-season game at Selhurst Park against Toulouse, he was a different animal entirely. So there's definitely positive, and I think we should really be excited to see what he does this season. I think 10 goals is definitely the target for him.
Probably end up again in the Zaha household with the likes of Luca, Tompkins and Townsend. They've all got the ability to push for that award. The worry would be that if Wilf doesn't win it, it's either because he's left in January or we've been so bad that not even he's been able to save us.
It's got to be Zaha again, isn't it? He's going to carry us through the season again. It's going to be Zaha. You get a couple of players maybe get near him, possibly Jimmy Mack, as I said earlier, be important. Tompkins again maybe, but you can't look past Wilf. He's going to carry us for years on end if he keeps going the way he is.
Palace fans love a trier, so if it's not going to be Wilf, it might be Kouyaté, someone like that. I know that at West Ham he definitely didn't have a reputation for being a trier. I think it kind of fell apart a little bit there. But he's an athletic, strong midfielder who seems to like to make runs through the middle. Box-to-box kind of player, loves a tackle, loves a header, loves a goal. So why not? I think someone like that would be a decent shout for Player of the Year. Other than that, James Tompkins, again, or Mamadou Sakho, two players who probably deserved a little bit more credit last season, especially Tompkins. He was fantastic. And he's one of those players that I could see us really getting behind and could end up doing something with it.
Wilf, hands down.
That entirely hinges on how our injury list remains. If the starting 11 stays fit, a relatively fit squad will be comfortably able to compete for mid-table and even push for the top 10, as we saw with Burnley last year. However, key injuries, like last year, would test an all relatively thin squad in a highly competitive league, and that could result in us fighting for relegation.
I'm hoping top half, pushing top 8. I just want an uneventful season, couple of shock results against Man United. I want us to beat Man United this season, which I think we will. So yeah, a top half pushing 8, but anything between 8th and 12th, kind of like last year. Nothing uneventful, just a nice solid push maybe. That's all we want. We don't want any relegation, please.
I mean, every season we think we know what's going to happen and then something crazy happens. But I got a feeling this might be a straightforward season for once. As long as Roy stays and we don't get too many injuries. And if that happens, I think 12th, 13th. And if we have a particularly good run of form and a bit of luck, top 10 could happen.
Palace need to avoid relegation. That's the key thing. We had a bit of a chat about that on the FYP Twitter account. I think that once you achieve safety, as long as we can do that early enough, there's no reason why we couldn't push for a spot between 12th and 8th, if not further up. It's just one of those things. The way that football is in this division, you can either have a really good run or a really bad run, and you just have to look at teams like Southampton. They make the wrong kind of recruits. Palace seem to have reinforced in a way that will make us a stronger side, and so an aim of avoiding relegation and then pushing on from there and seeing how far we can go, that is the ideal goal. As far as my predictions are concerned, I will go for a 9th place finish for Palace.
May the 4th, penultimate fixture of the season, with a crucial game against Cardiff, which we need to win in order to secure survival. Instead of training videos and all the nice pictures the club put up, the club released a video where the players tell us their favourite Star Wars characters in honour of May the 4th Day, and that sends Palace Twitter into meltdown, resulting in many of these fan accounts tweeting the chairman saying they'd much rather the Emperor run the football club than him.
Roy Hodgson will decide to pick up his pension and his bus pass and retire, and Palace will appoint Keith Millen again, and we'll start this whole process all over again.
For Wilf to get, I don't even want to say it, an injury which could end up, I'm not even going to say it because that would just be too horrendous, so I'm not going to do it. But you can kind of get an idea of what I'm expecting. That would be the most typical Palace thing. We all celebrate the fact he hasn't left, and then something like that would happen. But yeah, let's hope not.
Wilf to score a brace against Brighton. He loves doing that.